The courtroom wasn't just tense, it was suffocating. You could feel every breath, every shifting glance as Chief Judge William Pryor tore into Meghan Markle's carefully crafted legal armor. And when I say tore in, I mean he shredded it, leaving her high-powered attorneys standing there, humiliated, their confidence stripped bare. This wasn't just a ruling, it was a moment that will haunt Meghan for months, maybe even years. Samantha Markle's team walked out of that courtroom like they'd just won the lottery, calling it nothing less than a strategic victory.
Do you think meeting Harry, being with Harry, marrying Harry, has improved your sister's behavior, or do you think it's made it worse, the whole situation?
September 9th, 2025. Remember that date because it's the day Meghan's supposedly untouchable legal machine cracked wide open under unbearable pressure. People inside the appeals court whispered later that the discomfort was palpable. Imagine sitting there, watching as Judge Pryor dismantled every single argument Meghan's legal dream team threw at him. His words weren't just harsh, they were surgical. Each line cut straight to the heart of Meghan's defense, exposing what legal analysts are now calling a fundamentally flawed strategy. Ouch doesn't even cover it.
Because I think he has personality profile that perfectly enables someone who is an alleged narcissist.
And it gets worse. Word leaked out almost instantly. Meghan's attorneys looked visibly shaken when Pryor flat out told them their arguments were beside the point. Beside the point. Can you imagine the sting? This wasn't just a critique, it was a public humiliation of epic proportions. The same team that had proudly defended Meghan against wave after wave of lawsuits suddenly looked like amateurs, scrambling to fix procedural mistakes they should have seen miles away. And of course, within hours, the disaster reached Montecito. Palace insiders claim the news sent shockwaves straight into Meghan's mansion, rattling her so badly that even her inner circle couldn't hide the panic.
I don't think she's capable of empathy, remorse, or shame. I don't think she could feel enough to apologize.
Here's the bitter irony. Meghan, the woman who built her post-royal brand on being in control, who always sold herself as the wronged victim bravely fighting back, she suddenly found herself on the receiving end of a judicial smackdown that no PR team in the world could spin away. Samantha's lawyer, Peter Tickton, wasted absolutely no time. He pounced on Meghan's legal collapse like a lion spotting prey, and experts are still raving about his performance. Masterful, they're calling it. He turned every single mistake Meghan's team made into momentum for Samantha.
When you're pregnant, there's not a pillow under your skirt, and there's live footage of her walking towards camera with her abdomen swaying left to right in a black and white checkered dress.
Oh, the irony really stings here. Meghan has spent years painting herself as the misunderstood, wronged party in every family feud, and now she's being outplayed spectacularly by the half-sister she's tried to erase from her story. The reverberations from that courtroom showdown are shaking both royal circles and Hollywood, because this isn't just about one legal case. No, this feels like the start of a whole new chapter. And for Meghan, that chapter is darker than anything she could have imagined.
When she said, I lost my father, we knew that she didn't lose our dad, she iced our father.
Peter Tickton came prepared, and boy, did he deliver. His demolition of Meghan's defense wasn't just effective, it was surgical, devastating, the kind of courtroom performance people study for years. He accused Meghan's attorneys of tossing out a smorgasbord of arguments, throwing everything at the wall to see what might stick. And that one word, smorgasbord, has become Meghan's legal nightmare. Commentators are still laughing at how perfect it was, how it painted her team as scattered, desperate, and completely unfocused. Court observers said Tickton's brilliance was in keeping it simple. He didn't drown the judges in legal jargon. Number. He hammered home one crystal-clear message. Meghan's team refused to address the actual substance of Samantha's claims. And honestly, that message hit like a hammer. If Meghan's defense was really so strong, why were her lawyers dodging direct confrontation? Why were they running circles instead of tackling Samantha's accusations head-on? Behind the scenes, insiders whisper that Tickton had been preparing for months. He combed through every filing, every statement, every detail Meghan's team had ever released. And when the moment came, he unleashed a masterclass in strategic litigation. He didn't just chip away at Meghan's walls. He exposed cracks Meghan probably didn't even realize existed. Royal watchers are buzzing. Meghan, the polished, always-in-control Duchess, now looks like someone flailing, grasping at straws, while her half-sister calmly tears her down piece by piece. And trust me, this was only the beginning of Meghan's legal nightmare. The smorgasbord attack was just the appetizer. What followed in that courtroom? A full-blown catastrophe for Meghan's legal team. Imagine it. One of the most expensive groups of attorneys in Hollywood, people who charge hundreds of dollars an hour, standing there, forced to admit that they had overlooked critical elements in their motion to dismiss. Yes, you read that right. Overlooked. The entire courtroom went dead silent. It was the kind of silence that makes the hair on your neck stand up, the moment you realize you're watching history collapse in real time. And this wasn't just some rookie mistake. These weren't fresh out of law school interns fumbling through their first trial. These were seasoned veterans. Yet here they were, practically handing Samantha Markle the roadmap to victory. Judge Pryor's expression reportedly shifted from skepticism to outright disbelief, and one legal expert even called it legal malpractice in real time. Can you imagine Meghan hearing that phrase connected to her high-priced legal army? Absolutely brutal. Insiders say Tickton could barely hide his satisfaction. Meghan's lawyers were basically building his case for him. Every time they admitted another oversight, it was like handing Samantha's team more ammunition. Observers compared it to watching someone lock themselves inside their own cage and then pass the key through the bars to their opponent. A complete disaster. And here's the kicker. This ripple effect isn't staying confined to one courtroom. Sources reveal Meghan's other pending legal matters are now under urgent review. Why? Because if her team could miss something this big, what else have they messed up? The woman who has built her post-royal life around competence and control now faces whispers of incompetence at the very heart of her brand. Montecito insiders are already talking about frantic emergency calls to crisis management firms and PR consultants as Meghan scrambles to contain the fallout. From the very beginning, the panel of judges came out swinging. One by one, they tore into Meghan's defense strategy, exposing weaknesses so obvious that courtroom veterans later shook their heads in disbelief. Appellate courts usually keep things professional, civil, almost restrained. But this time, the gloves were off. The questioning was so pointed, so sharp that people whispered it felt less like a hearing and more like a public execution. When Chief Judge Pryor declared that Meghan's arguments were beside the point, it wasn't just legal critique, it was a smackdown, the kind of moment that leaves scars. Meghan's lawyers, usually the ones commanding respect, admired for their polished poise, looked rattled, fumbling for answers, their faces betraying the panic bubbling beneath. Meanwhile, Peter Tickton, he was calm, collected, almost smug. Court reporters say he seized on every stumble from Meghan's side, turning the entire proceeding into a masterclass in strategic contrast. Meghan's attorneys looked like amateurs. Tickton looked like the voice of reason. The difference was so glaring that even the most seasoned court reporters exchanged knowing glances. One side came prepared for battle, the other came expecting a casual chat. And Meghan's side? They were crushed. Legal commentators didn't hold back either. They're calling it a textbook example of how not to handle an appellate hearing. Imagine the humiliation. Meghan, the woman who prides herself on always being prepared, represented by a team exposed as unready, incoherent, and clumsy in front of the entire world. And that's the brilliance of Tickton's strategy. He knew from the start that appellate courts rarely overturn dismissals. So what did he do? He focused not just on the legal outcome, but on the narrative. And boy, did it work. He's exposed Meghan's legal team as vulnerable. He's forced them into humiliating admissions that will haunt them forever. He's created a permanent record of judicial criticism that Meghan can't just wish away. And most importantly, he's shifted the storyline. This isn't Meghan versus some frivolous half-sister anymore. This is Meghan being exposed as someone whose team can't even manage the basics. Samantha's persistence has transformed her image from bitter sibling to determined challenger who finally cracked Meghan's perfect facade. Insiders whisper that this shift is terrifying for Meghan because now, every future lawsuit, every challenge, every critic will look back at this hearing as proof that she's not invincible, that her attorneys can falter, that her defenses can crumble. It's like blood in the water and the sharks are circling, and trust me, Meghan knows it. Sources say the phones in Montecito were ringing off the hook within hours of the disaster. Emergency meetings were called. PR experts, brand managers, legal consultants, all summoned to figure out how to spin a story that seems unspinnable. But how do you fix something when the very thing you sell, competence, control, intelligence, has just been torn apart for the whole world to see? And here's the cruelest twist. This legal stumble isn't just embarrassing. It's a direct hit on Meghan's most valuable asset, her brand. Hollywood insiders are already whispering about the fallout, and it isn't pretty. Meghan's entire post-royal brand, built on this image of being competent, prepared, and morally unshakable, has taken a direct hit. When your million-dollar legal team is caught making amateur mistakes in federal court, how do you convince the world you're the smart, composed strategist you claim to be? The answer? You can't. The contrast is painful. On one hand, Meghan's been out there on glossy magazine covers, delivering perfectly polished speeches and presenting herself as this visionary leader. On the other, her attorneys are in court, stumbling, admitting they overlooked key elements and looking like deer caught in headlights. Even her most loyal fans are struggling to reconcile those two images. Hollywood power players aren't blind either. Word on the street is that business partners are now hesitating, quietly inserting extra liability clauses into contracts, or worse, pulling back entirely. Because let's be honest, no one wants to invest in someone whose legal affairs have turned into a circus. When you're supposed to represent strength and intelligence, and suddenly you look reckless and exposed, confidence evaporates fast. And Meghan's critics? Oh, they are having a field day. For years, detractors have accused her of being drama personified, someone always surrounded by lawsuits, feuds, and controversy. Now they've got the smoking gun they always wanted, actual proof of legal incompetence right there on the record. But the damage doesn't stop with Meghan. Prince Harry is caught in the crossfire too. Their public lives, their projects, their deals, everything is intertwined. And when Meghan's brand takes a beating, Harry's credibility crumbles alongside hers. Royal commentators are already pointing out how this disaster threatens his attempts to rebuild relationships with his family and the British public. If Meghan can't even manage her own legal affairs, how can Harry expect the world to take his causes seriously? And what about the palace? Insiders whisper that senior royals are watching all this unfold with a mix of vindication and dread. On one hand, Meghan's humiliation feels like karma for her years of attacks. On the other, family dysfunction this public reflects badly on the monarchy too. They're keeping their distance, but make no mistake, they're taking notes. And then there's the family fallout. This legal war has slammed the door shut on any chance of reconciliation between Meghan and her paternal relatives. Samantha's persistence has been like fuel to the fire, hardening divides that may never heal. Sources close to Thomas Markle Sr. say he views Samantha's legal push as vindication of all his warnings about Meghan. It's as though the Markle family rift has been carved in stone with no going back. Dr. Sarah Williams, a specialist in celebrity family dynamics, summed it up bluntly. Every legal filing is another betrayal, another wound that makes reconciliation impossible, and she's right. Court documents aren't just paperwork, they're public accusations etched forever in the record. This isn't just family drama anymore, it's open warfare. And let's be real, the optics are damning. Meghan has built her public persona around valuing relationships, connection, and authenticity. But how authentic does she look now, when nearly every member of her paternal family is estranged, or worse, suing her? You can't spin your way out of that kind of credibility gap, no matter how polished your PR team might be. As if things weren't already bad enough, relatives who used to barely speak are now bonding over their shared frustrations with Meghan. That means Samantha isn't standing alone anymore. She's part of a growing chorus of voices united against Meghan, and that chorus is only getting louder. And of course, the British tabloids are drooling over this mess. They're splashing headlines about Meghan's collapse and exposed incompetence, contrasting her polished mental health advocacy speeches with the reality of her messy legal feuds. It's the ultimate contradiction, and they're milking it for every sale. But the most heartbreaking twist? The children. Archie and Lilibet are growing up with no ties to their grandfather's side of the family. This feud has dug trenches so deep that by the time they're old enough to ask questions, their family tree may already be too fractured to repair. Imagine growing up knowing your mom's entire family either cut ties or dragged her to court. The psychological toll? Unimaginable. And yet, the drama isn't even close to finished, because the entire case still hinges on one thing: the written opinion from the appellate court.